So if I had been on top of things, I would have started this yesterday, which is Tuesday, December 13th. I am never on top of things though, so we're starting today on Wednesday, December 14th. Hello, my lovely friends, it's Margaret, and it is day 2 of the Eras Readathon. Yeah, I missed Taylor's birthday. I mean, I was on my channel for Taylor's birthday. It's a whole long story, I won't bore you with it, but I am here to talk to you about what books I am currently reading for this. This I am currently reading because I have to finish it before I can start any Fabling books, and it has nothing to do with the Eras Readathon, so... But this is you're gonna see me reading this in this vlog, and we're gonna finish it tonight. It's getting finished tonight. And then I finally started Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. Funny little story about this thing. I thought I had the audiobook. I was like, wow, I went from 58th in line to 1st real fast. Turns out, the hold request that I deleted was the hold request for the audiobook, not the hold request for the ebook. So I had the ebook, not the audiobook, so I just went and bought it from Audible because I have a gajillion credits from them because I don't like using Audible if I have my library, so I never use Audible. I have been through so many, oh my goodness, why is it wet? I have been through so many emotions in the first, like, 70-something pages since I started this book. Like... First I was mad at Cell, and then I was mad at people who were mad at Cell, and like, the only thing that has been consistent is just me being like, y'all need to lay off Bree. Let Bree live. Just because what happened in the last book happened does not mean that she stops being a person and does not have emotional needs that need to be met, and y'all are just like, not handling this well. I love it, obviously, so far. It's fantastic. I cannot, like... It tells you how much I switched my ships, that I didn't even remember what happened to Nick at the end of the last book. Just didn't even remember it. Like, this is going to be a good love triangle. This is going to be one of those love triangles where I'm like, ooh, this one makes sense. I will say I do wish I had sat down and listened to Legendborn again in preparation for listening to this, but I am an impatient person. Why are you focusing on my closet? Am I in my closet? No, I'm not. Sorry about that. My camera lost its mind. I'm also doing the 2022 Reading Wrap Challenge, and one of those challenges is to read your most recent read. So I am going to need to finish this because it's either this or Babel, and Babel is HarperCollins. So yeah, trying to limit the number of HarperCollins books that I am reading just because I don't want to have a lot that I have to go back and talk about after the fact. Like, it's been 25 days since they started the strike. It's amazing that they haven't at least sat down and go, okay, let's get y'all a contract again. Like, they don't even have a contract right now. We're gonna finish Heroes Adrift so that I can get started on some of the other books that I want to read for the Eras Readathon. I am trying for 13 books in 13 days. I'm probably gonna be reading some graphic novels. Happy Wednesday, and I'll be back. Hello everyone, welcome back. I haven't updated you in a couple of days just because, hold on, I think I was about to screw up the pattern. Oh, okay. Hold on, I need to count some stitches. So anyways, we really don't have much of an update for you today, except, well, I guess I do have an update, because I finished, I'm not going to pull it up because it's not an official Eras book, but I finished Heroes Adrift. I was too far into that for it to count for any of the Eras prompts that I was going to do. So that's fine, you know, sometimes you gotta finish a book, but now that I have finished that, I can finally start on some of my official, like, Fablin books that I need to do, because I had to finish that before I could start on any of the Fablin stuff, which, that's gonna make doing my TBR fun. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. We have made progress in some stuff. I had to bring my phone over because, I put a bookmark in, smart girl. I am 242 pages into Bloodmark and loving it. I need these two idiots to realize how much they like each other, because they're fighting something right now that, yeah. And I know people will be like, just do all three of them, and it's like, there are some dynamics between two of the characters that make me go, I don't know how I feel about them being in a relationship together, just because there is such a opportunity for abusive power to happen, and we've seen that abusive power happen. Like, it's not even like I give you an order and you have to do it. Or like you can say no to the order and just not do it, and like, it's like you physically can't say no. But I am really enjoying it. We're caught up. We've done, so much has happened in just this first half of the book. I am not surprised by any of the turns that this plot has taken. Like, I should have expected it. And the way that Tracy Deonn is tackling some of the stuff, it's just really well done. You know what she's talking about. You're going to see the stuff. You're going to see, like, what her commentary is. But she's, like, it's not that there's anything wrong with her outright stating things, but it's one of those things where it's nice to, like, she's not spoon feeding the reader every single time. She is just giving you these situations in a lot of these cases. I need Cell to stop hating himself. I understand that's a big ask for him, but I do need Cell to stop hating himself, because he does not deserve the hate that he is giving himself. I think I said already that this is going to count for Great War, and I'm going to try and have this finished by the weekend, because I haven't finished a single book for Eras at this point. That's fine. That's fine. And then I also picked up today, because I felt like reading it, I've been wanting to read it, I picked up Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is about Dora, and when she was a small child, when she's like 11, I think is what it is, she gets cursed by a fairy and when they curse her, he steals half her soul, so she doesn't, like, the way she feels emotions is very muted. It's not like she processes them differently. It's like, hey, I should be afraid in this instance, and I am not, like, I'm not afraid. Like, it's not phasing me. She talks about that, like, she can feel dread. She can sit and think about something and realize that it's dangerous and have an uneasy feeling inside of her, but, like, it requires her to sit and think about these emotions. We've met the love interest, and their first meeting was just fantastic and epic. Like, immediately misunderstanding. One of them is being snarky. Dora is being just like, oh, okay, and not realizing that he's insulting her or being vulgar or any of that stuff. And she's like, and then he does insult her, and she fired back. Such a beautiful insult. I am loving it. And so it's great. I am enjoying this book so much, and I'm actually gonna try and read this all in one day. I also need to start editing a video for, like, Monday, I think, because I'm not posting tomorrow because we just did sprints today, so I don't want to, like, have it overshadowed. And I think the video I'm gonna be editing is gonna be a vlog, because I need to get caught up on those before the end of the year. And I also need to sit down and figure out what my 12 Days of Margaret content is going to be, but that's neither here nor there in this video. So this is going to count, I believe, for the prompt for Sparks Fly. I have to double check. Not the kind of sparks that Taylor's talking about in Sparks Fly. It's definitely not those kinds of sparks, but sparks are flying. I love this book so much already. I knew I was going to like this book, and it is living up to the hype. Yeah, a book about the start of a romance. So that's what this is. I am gonna go read some more of my book. I want to finish some more of my blanket. We're getting somewhere. It's a pretty decent size now, and I don't know how to measure this pattern because of the way that things repeat. So I'm just like, do I do it to here and then measure it? Like, I don't know. But I'm having fun with it anyways. Like, I'll just sit and crochet because I'm determined and I want this to be done and I want to be able to use it as a blanket. You know, just normal things that you do. Well, we're currently in the process of getting, this is where the bed was, right where I'm standing. Yep. And we're gonna get this and that and the stuff out there. New angle, who dis? Will this help at all? Hi, hello, we have an update. It is Monday the 20th. You can't see that, it's right there. It's Monday the 20th. No, it's not, it's Tuesday the 20th. Monday was the 19th. Did I talk to you yesterday? No, it's fine, everything's fine. Obviously the new bed is set up. We've got all of this, and I have updates for you. I finished this morning. I finally finished Bloodmarked. So that is The Great War on my playlist for my Eras set list. I don't know why Tracy Dion decided to pick on me specifically, but like, the way this book ended, the relationship, this was so good, and also I was left so unsatisfied because we are building up to one of my favorite things to see in when you have a ship, and I have to wait for the next book. It just feels personal. This is going to be neck and neck for one of my best books of the year because like this is it's just too good. It's just too good. This is on par with Leviathan Falls, and I don't know how I'm gonna choose between the two of them at this point. Tracy Dion, like, she gives you the story you're expecting, but she keeps it fresh and keeps twisting it and keeps throwing obstacles that you're not expecting in the way. As far as Have a Soul goes, I am almost done. We're on sprints right now. I don't think I set a timer on my phone for when my food is ready, so I should probably do that. I keep pulling the phone out to set the timer and then forgetting. I'm on page 217. We've kind of gotten to the final, like, we're in the last act, and I am enjoying this so much. Just watching them, like, try to navigate the fact that they like someone for the first time in their life, like they've fallen in love for the first time, and it's just adorable and wonderful, and I'm having so much fun with this book. I had so much fun. Where it is, it's over there. I had so much fun I went and bought the next book. We are trying this angle out since right here where my arm is going down, that's where I normally sit when I am in front of the window like this. Now we're here on the bed. And I actually kind of like this angle. We'll probably have to bring it up a little bit higher once again when I finally get a real mattress for when I'm not sleeping on a twin. But it's expensive to get a mattress, so we're not getting that yet. Hey, hi. It's very interesting not being able to lean back up against your bed. I have since finished Have a Soul. When I spoke with you guys, I was like literally 7 pages, so close to the end, so close. I thought I had a lot more to go because there's a short story at the end that I don't actually care about. Anyways, so finished this one. Loved it. It got 5 stars. It was fantastic. I'm just winning with the books today. That's 2 books down. And then we've got 2, 3, working on 3 more. I'm currently 106 pages into Once Upon a K-prom, and it's really, really cute. Not what I thought it was going to be. Like, it is what Kat described, but it wasn't what I, could I do this? Could I just do this? Oh my god, I could do this. Oh, that's the perfect, oh my god. Ignore the mess in the back. I don't have to hold the camera to talk to you guys. It's fantastic. We're just gonna turn this away a little bit. I'm 106 pages into Once Upon a K-prom. This is really cute. We haven't gotten too far in, but I'm having so much fun reading this, and I'm really enjoying it. And I think Robbie just tried to do something nice for her, and I don't think she's realizing that he did it for her and not for his own publicity. Kat has yet to let me down with a book. I'm just saying that now. I am going to settle in with Pretty Dead Queens by Alexa Dunn. This is going to fulfill the prompt for Bejeweled. I don't remember what prompt Once Upon a K-prom is fulfilling. I'm gonna be honest. I should probably figure that out. I need to pull up Canva to know what I'm doing. Once Upon a K-prom is fulfilling the prompt for I Know Places from 1989. This is going to be fulfilling the prompt for Bejeweled, because it's got jewelry on it somewhere. There's a crown right there. And then I'm also going to start working on, I need to finish Kai in order to continue working on some of my favorite books. So I just got this as an audiobook, and I'm going to finish, I think I'm going to finish, let's see, am I closer? Yeah, I'm going to finish up this chapter, and then I'll know which chapter I need to be on for the audiobook to start it at work. We're going to try and focus on things. I couldn't read anything at work because Bloodmark just wrecked me. I'm going to let you guys go, and I am going to read some of this and some of this. I just love having bookshelves behind my bed. This is fantastic. Hi, good morning. I'm here. We are here. It is December 23rd, and I have finished another book. I think that makes book 3 that I finished. I am still working on Kai by Vaishnavi Patel. I'm not liking it as much as I did at the beginning, but I still think that it is, like, even not knowing the source material, I think I can still tell that it is being more transformative in its retelling than Electra. Okay. I have finished Once Upon a K-prom by Kat Cho. Highly recommend. Can I talk about this book? Just realized. Oh, hey, it's signed. This is so adorable. I gave it 5 stars. It was the books that I have been reading so far for Eras have gotten. Well, I mean, Kai is not getting 5 stars, but I'm happy with this. I am having a good time right now with the books that I have been choosing, or I was until this. Like, it was such a good, like, balance between completely unserious and then very, like, hard hitting. We've got a character who is really struggling with her place in her family and struggling with the fact that she is one of the two, she and her brother are the 2 youngest, and she's struggling with the fact that she keeps feeling like she's being left behind and being drawn out of, kicked out of these friendships, and, like, she's struggling with all these fantastic and very realistic, I think, insecurities. I think, like, a lot of people would probably think this is low stakes, but I think that when you're in high school, when you're a person, like, a lot of this is actually, to some extent, like, I think we downplay it when we're adults, and we have more perspective, but it's still something that is, like, still something you struggle with. It's got a lot of the seriousness of just, like, really goes into idol culture and how exploitative that can be in some ways, especially on the fan side, and how how your privacy gets invaded when you become a celebrity. There are many, many, many fandoms, many different groups where you are going to end up being kind of having people show up places just because you're there to mob the place and for the paparazzi to be there. So, like, I totally, like, it's such a good conversation on that, and you get to see the effects of that in this book. But it also is really fun. She is very, like, she's not silly, she's very serious, but, like, she's also very, like, how do I want to say, I don't know how I want to say this. The book has the serious moments, but it also has some, like, just really ridiculous stuff that happens, but it's, like, realistically ridiculous stuff. Maybe a little heightened because we're doing a K-drama type thing. Ugh, and the decisions this girl makes, sometimes it's just like, honey, you need to step back. Like, I could see why she, like, was like, you're not gonna think, but if you stepped back and thought, you would realize what's going on here. Anyways, I am about to be stuck in a car, and then at my relative's house for all day, exactly how I wanted to spend my first day off of Christmas. We're taking some books with us. I'm definitely taking Kai. I'm a little limited in the selection of books that I can take because some of them I don't want to start until I can film my reaction to finishing certain things, or film my reactions to them. Some of them are part of video concepts, and some of them are, well, they're neon gods, and I really don't want to have to explain that to a room full of my conservative family members. So here's what we're taking. We are going to be taking Kai because I have that as an audiobook. I am also going to be taking Pretty Dead Queens because I do want to finish that. I will probably read this while we're sitting with family. I don't know that I'll get like another physical book that I need to read, but I am going to also take Anne of Manhattan just in case I need another physical read. Anne of Green Gables retelling. That's an easy one to explain, right? If I finish Kai, which I may not, but if I do, I have I will have Sense and Second Degree Murder by Tears of Price. Just because, why the heck not? I'm gonna take that, and I think that'll, only 2 of them actually physically have to come with me, and then somehow I'm gonna figure out a way to get this dumb blanket in a bag with the rest of the yarn I need for the next several rows, because it doesn't fit in the backpack anymore. I also have, I have a smaller project for while I am at my relatives as well. This is going to be a sweater at some point. Anyways, I'm gonna go find a bag for my blanket and get ready to go because I don't want to go, but okay. I didn't have any good reasons not to go, so it's just easier to go than to fight it. Oh, that's right, and I need to bring my planner so I can figure out what I'm doing for 12 Days with Margaret this year. It's the 23rd and I haven't started anything for it because I hate myself, apparently. Hello, hi, we have updates. I have finished a book. We finished Kai last night. I ended up really liking it. It's 4 stars. I don't really want to say all that much about it because I have a whole other vlog where I go into a lot more in-depth thoughts, but I did really like this book. I think it had some places kind of in the middle where a lot of what was happening got to be a bit repetitive. It really takes you through, like, just through the timeline, and I think it would have benefited from maybe cutting out just a little bit of that and, like, combining a few things. Everything that was happening was important, but getting from place to place sometimes just felt like, okay, we're dealing with this again. The next book that we are working on is Pretty Dead Queens. I am currently at 222 pages, and I have figured out, I think I know who the murderer is. I think I know who did, because I have a feeling it's going to be the last murder and the current murder are both done by the same person. And it would need to be someone who had access to the school. And then we just had like one sentence where something happened and like almost immediately after a certain person finding out information and like acting on that. Like it looks like they were acting on that information. So I think I know who the murderer is, which I think is a very interesting, like with everything that's going on, very interesting like twist. We finished a book. I ended up finishing Pretty Dead Queens last night. I gave it 4 stars. So here's the thing. I think that it's really well, like, was really well written. I just didn't like the way it ended. The ending was okay. I just have choices that I would have made differently if I had written this book to make it a little bit more satisfying for the audience, because I didn't find it as satisfying as it could have been. It was shocking to say the least, and like definitely well worth the read. I wasn't able to put it down, especially when I figured out what was going on. But yeah, like I enjoyed it. I thought it was well written, but I cannot tell you what my issue is with it without major spoilers. And I don't want to do that to y'all. I feel that I came up with a more interesting kind of who I thought done it than what actually ended up happening. But that's just me. I've also started and finished. Well, I also started 2 other books and finished one of those. I'm not really going to talk about this one long, but it is Anne of Manhattan by Brina Starler. It's a HarperCollins book, so I'm not like. I read it. I'll have thoughts about it when the HarperCollins strike is done. Again, I will link videos down in the description box and the HarperCollins Union Twitter, so that if you have any questions, you're interested, like you want to know what all of that is about, you can. I'm also currently reading The 2 Lives of Lydia Bird by Josie Silver. I'm about halfway through. And if we've just met the love interest for this book, I am going to be pissed. I'm going to be so pissed. We are halfway through the book, and we've met this very hot Viking dude. And, like, if we'd met him at the 1/4 mark, that would have worked. But we didn't. We've been building this relationship, in my opinion, building a relationship with someone else. Would it be weird? Would it not work? Yes. But, like, you can't build this as a romance if you're not going to meet the love interest until halfway through a... this happens in 2020. 365-page book. Like, I like the concept of this because it's about Lydia Bird. At the very beginning of this novel, she loses her fiance in a car crash, and as a way of coping, her mother finally convinces her and her doctor to put her on some sleeping pills because she's not sleeping, and she's messed up. As it turns out, these sleeping pills transport her to another life where her fiance is still alive, they're still planning their wedding, all of this other stuff is happening. It's kind of like her having to navigate that and trying to figure everything out. I was enjoying it until this happened, and now I'm just like, please let this be a red herring. Please let this just be something to be an obs. I've never so badly wanted a love triangle to happen because one of them is an obstacle. Because, like, I really like what's happening with her and the other guy in this book that I think she should end up with. So there's that. Dude on the front cover has dark hair. I can't remember whether her fiance had dark hair. Because if this is the love interest, then I'm right. Like, it's really interesting as an exploration of grief and moving on. And this is, like, she's lost someone she was with for 14 years. They've been friends since they were like 12, and they were basically dating from the time they were 15, and were together up until his death. Watching her go through this is a very, very, like, the author is doing this so well and navigating this so well and giving us enough to see her moving on and growing and moving through the stages of grief without having to give us every single moment. I think the way that this particular novel, because it's split up between when she's awake and when she's asleep, and there are different dates, and so I think that really helps kind of move that forward and keep that pacing going. Like, it's not a boring book. It's not like sitting there and like not doing anything for pages. I'm just pissed at a possible story change, because if there's gonna be someone new in her life, I don't want it to be someone that we met halfway through the book. This is not a YA fantasy, okay? It's not a Brandon Sanderson novel. This is supposed to be a romance. So that is my audiobook currently, and then I have a physical read that I'm about to start. Hence why I pulled the camera out, because it's gonna have its own kind of dedicated vlog. But I have Deadly Waters by Dot Hutchison. This is a murder mystery that takes place near the place I went to college in Gainesville. If you don't know, Dot's a friend. We met in Gainesville. And I love her book, The Butterfly Garden. It is supremely messed up. Supremely messed up. And I love it. It's such a good book. You got to get to the end of it to realize why it's such a good book, but it is such a good book. I'm going to be picking this up for the Exile prompt, I believe, which is to read a book with trees and water on the front. I'm looking at these trees and wondering... I'm just saying, I've never seen these trees in Florida. I could be wrong, because I haven't seen every tree in Florida, but those are not the trees that I would expect to be swamp trees, and definitely there should be more trees if they are swamp trees. I'm just saying. I'm also going to have a thriller vlog that I am putting up because your girl needs view time. So, and thrillers apparently get our view time. So, that's going to be in there with the books that are part of that thriller vlog. Hello, we're here to wrap this thing up. Let me get my butt on the actual cushion that's here. I've been waiting for a day that I've had a weekend where I'm free and can actually do this. So, it's been a couple weeks since the readathon finish. Normally it's dark by the time I get home, so I can't sit down, and I wanted to sit down and do this here. Long story short, I completed the readathon. I did not read 13 books, unfortunately, but I did complete the readathon, and I'm very happy with that. So I'm here to talk to you about the books that I read for this and what my final set list looked like. This was it. Ta-da! I had to swap out a few. I had to swap out State of Grace. I had to swap out New Romantics, and I had to swap out I think those are the only two I had to swap out. No, I had to swap out Willow. Didn't get that one done, but it's fine. It is fine. I'm gonna go in order of how I finished these, and I will tell you which prompts they fulfilled. First one you saw me finish was Bloodmarked. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. Like, okay, I will admit it had its flaws. It did get kind of draggy in the middle, like I talked about, but the tension between Bree and Sel in this novel, everything I wanted. Everything I have wanted since that one moment in Legendborn. I just was like, yes, thank you. And then that ending. Tracy, you know what you did. Why would you do that? Why would you hurt us like that? I mean, I know it's going to be worth it when we get book 3 and everything's resolved and all of that stuff, but still, why would you do that to us? Anyways, I gave it 5 stars. I know it's not a perfect book. I know that on a craft level, there are some things that needed to be worked on because it got a little bit of repetitive. It got a little draggy in the middle. It did not have quite as tight pacing as the first book did, but I still loved it. I liked that we got to dig more into the lore and the world building and what was going on, and I understand some people have kind of complaints about that world building and they wish that it had gone more in depth with that, yada yada. I don't think it needed that though, for the most part, because this is so thoroughly set in our world. It's our world, but with an extra level of like magic behind the scenes kind of thing. I didn't feel like we need a lot of the magic system fleshed out. I don't feel like we got exactly what we needed, you know, through this. And so I was quite happy with it. I enjoyed it. That ending, so that ending is what kept it from being a 4-star. It was almost a 4-star, and it was a 5-star. It just, yeah, the ending is really so much of what makes the book for me is on that ending. This ended up counting for Cruel Summer, which is to read a book with the enemies to lovers trope, and then also counted for The Great War, which was to read a book with a battle couple. The next one we finished was Have a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This was absolutely delightful. I had so much fun reading it. It is a Regency fairy tale, and everything I wanted was right here. Just the obliviousness of the main character. This is Howl's Moving Castle meets Pride and Prejudice, and it's, well, there's probably a more accurate Jane Austen. This might be Howl's Moving Castle meets something more like Sense and Sensibility or Mansfield Park. Probably more Sense and Sensibility, just because she's so focused on her cousin and getting her cousin a happy ending and all of that kind of stuff. And she's a very sensible character. I would highly recommend this to anyone who likes Regency romances and anyone who likes like fairy stories. This fulfilled the prompts for Sparks Fly, which is to read a book about the beginning of a relationship or something like that. Yeah, about the start of a romance. And then it also fulfilled, I switched out State of Grace for Begin Again, which is to read the first book in a series. I have the next book already. I can't math. I read 7 books. The next one I read was Once Upon a K-Prom by Kat Cho. This is absolutely adorable. This was exactly what I wanted in the moment that I wanted it. I wanted something that was going to be another sweet romance, and it was. It was sweet. The stakes were a little bit less high because there was no plague in this one. At least they haven't gotten to that part in our history just yet. I gave Half a Soul 5 stars. I gave this 5 stars. I had so much fun reading this. I really liked the way that Kat Cho kind of explores high school and explores friendship and shows the rebuilding of this relationship. And it also was really great about showing how our perception of how others see us can also be super skewed. Like, we don't actually know what people are thinking about us until they tell us. And that was something that applied to all of our main characters' relationships, not just the relationship with the love interest. This ended up counting for I Know Places from 1989, which is to read a book that you don't hear a lot of people talking about. And then I also decided it counted for Today Was a Fairy Tale from the Fearless Vault tracks, just because well, it is a modern fairy tale. After that, I finished Kaikeyi. I think I gave this 4 stars. There's another vlog coming out where I'll have more thoughts, but I really thought that this did what it set out to do very, very well. It wasn't one that I was like overwhelmingly happy at the end, but I did like the journey we saw our main character going on, and I liked the conversations that we were having in this book. A big theme in this book is about how what a woman has actually done gets twisted in the stories that are told about them. And so it's not so much her, like to some extent she is making excuses, I guess you could say, but she's more like explaining, okay, this is what I was thinking, this was my intention, this is what I was trying to do. Like, she's breaking down, okay, this is how people interpreted it, but this was what happened. And then in some cases she's like, this is what people remember, or what people think happened, or say happened, or what the gossip says. This is what actually happened. And so I really appreciated that. I thought that was that's an interesting conversation to be having, especially when it comes to folklore and mythology and legend. So I really appreciate this. I do want to go and read the original work, which this is based on the Ramayana. This one ended up counting for Hey Stephen, which is to read a book with a name in the title, and it also ended up counting for Long Story Short, which is to read a book with 400 plus pages. After that, I finished Pretty Dead Queens by Alexa Dunn. This, I gave 4 stars. It was okay. There are parts of it that personally to me, I did not appreciate as a reader, just because I don't like that. Like, personally don't like it when that happens with a romance. And it's not, I mean, it was a clever thing for the author to do, and I like saw that and I understood that, but at the same time I was like, did you have to do that? Was that entirely necessary, Alexa? That just was one of those things, and like it still wrapped up in a way that was satisfying for me. It's just personal preference. I was like, I really wish that did it have to be them? Could it not have been anyone else? And then like the very like you have the twist, and then there's another twist on top of that, which I thought was fantastic. And it definitely kind of it subverts reader expectation to some extent, because I don't think you're really thinking that was a possibility through most of the book. There's so much, I can't really talk about it because it will ruin the mystery of this. It just didn't give me the 5-star fuzzies, which is what I need for a book to make 5 stars. And maybe if we had but like also we couldn't, like you couldn't have done what I would want to have happened and still had our character be someone you would root for. So I kind of understand that to some extent, even if I'm kind of bitter about it, but it still was a very good book. And if you like murder mysteries and small town stuff, this is very like in the Gilmore Girls style, but it's like Gilmore Girls with murder in it, and also kind of like, it's like Murder, She Wrote meets Gilmore Girls meets something else that I can't really like the twist at the end, it brings a whole other level to it, but just like that's kind of the vibes you are getting. This ended up counting for Delicate, which is to read a book with a new relationship, and then also Bejeweled, which was to read a book with, oh, it is on the front, jewelry on the cover. It's got this pretty tiara on the front. So Bejeweled was like one of my top priorities here. After that, we finished Anne of Manhattan. This I think I ended up giving this 3 stars. That's a good question. How many stars did I give this bitch? Yes, I ended up giving this 3 stars. I thought it was an interesting take on Anne of Green Gables, or Anne of Avonlea is more like the parallel, and Green Gables is like the backstory. Thought that this was an interesting take on that story. I really liked it. It wasn't anything that really wowed me, but it was highly enjoyable as someone who likes Anne of Green Gables and enjoys like those kinds of dynamics, especially when you have 2 people. Like, I just love the idea of 2 people who like hated each other in high school coming back together and being like, okay, you know, there's this mutual attraction that's been between us since we were kids, and maybe we don't have to snark at each other the entire time. Maybe I can see you as a person that I actually like. And I did like that kind of like them, again, rediscovering each other and learning new things about each other and learning they were mistaken about each other. More she was mistaken about him. Well, let's be honest. He always saw her for who she was, and she, because he was a dumb boy, misinterpreted a lot of stuff. And I liked that. I like that kind of plot line, and it was fun for me. This ended up counting for Should Have Said No, because it does have a breakup in it. I won't tell you whose, but like it's a romance book, so are we surprised? And then it also ended up counting for Exile, which was to read a book with by an author with a pen name. And then the final book that I ended up finishing for this was The 2 Lives of Lydia Bird by Josie Silver. I liked this, and I've said this somewhere else. I don't know what other video I have said this in. I think it's some sort of something. You're gonna hear this a lot. This is a book that is romantic, but it is not a romance. Like, I do think that there is some kind of misunderstanding to some extent what a romance is in some cases, because a lot of the time I hear people say this is not a romance, and what they mean is this is not a rom-com. And like, those are 2 different things. Like a romance and a rom-com, like rom-com falls under the romance genre, but it is not necessarily the same thing as the romance genre. You'll have romances that their idea is not to be funny and silly, and like there are obviously you still got to have the happily ever after, and this does, but it's not like the love interest is not in this enough for it to count as a romance. He is like a B plot, and for this to have counted as a romance, he needed to have been the A plot. He wasn't. And I didn't mind, like, I didn't mind that. I thought that there was enough of him in here, like to the extent that the ending made sense, and you're happy for that, and you're glad to see that she is finally moving on and she's figured this out. However, a lot of this book is about her figuring out how to move on. And I appreciated that. I thought that this was a really interesting way to look at grief and to look at someone processing grief and a lens to look through, because she's processing it by also being able to see what her life would have been like if her fiance hadn't died. I gave this 4 stars. I thought, like, it's marketed poorly. I don't think it works as a romance, but I do think that it is a good book, and I think that it is very romantic on some level, but that doesn't necessarily make it a romance. This ended up counting for a couple of things. I don't remember off the top of my head, because I never remember off the top of my head. This ended up counting for hours, which is to read a book. I don't remember what that was to read a book for. I think I actually memorized these. It was to read a book with a long distance relationship, and that does end up happening in this. I highly recommend it if you like books about death and grief and you want to see something about someone moving on. I mean, like, her grief is very raw, because we meet her like 60 days, like 2 months after her husband has died, and she's still picking up the pieces and still trying to figure out what to do. And trying, like, she hasn't even gotten to the point where she can think about rebuilding her life, and we get to see her start from there and get to that point. And get to the idea that she can have a life and be happy despite losing the person that she thought she was going to spend the rest of her life with. There are 2 other books that you would have seen me read in this reading vlog. One of them is The Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi. I gave this 5 stars. It was delightful. You will have heard some of my thoughts on it, possibly, but I also have another vlog that I'm going to go into a lot more depth. This was just fun, but it didn't match with any of the prompts that I had left, so I wasn't able to use it, and it wasn't, like, nothing that I needed to cover was covered by this book, so it didn't count for the readathon. And then the other book that you would have seen me start but I didn't finish was Beloved by Toni Morrison. Whew, was this a book? I ended up giving this 4 stars. This is very, very, very good. This is not where I suggest starting with Toni Morrison if you are not okay with really dark and really weird, because, I mean, we get into some of this stuff. This is about a formerly enslaved woman who escaped. And so we get into some of the stuff that happened to her, to what was done to her. We get into things like sexual assault. We get into things like physical assault, torture, just a lot of that stuff. There is death of a child in here. It is based on a real, I don't want to tell you what the real life situation happened, but it is a real life, based on a real life situation that happened with a mother and her children and her husband as they were trying to escape. What happens, the thing at the core of why this dead baby is haunting their house. It is very, very good. It's also very hard to follow. She knew what she was doing, and she has a style, and I think it's something that it is a style that is going to work for some people, and I think for other people it is going to be a struggle to deal with this style, because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't feel connected, and it feels disjointed until you get to that twist and you get to the end, and there's a lot of stuff that is easy to miss that ends up being, like, important to the plot. I had to look up a summary of this book because there were places where I don't know if I, like, tuned out or if I just wasn't paying as much attention as I should have, because I listened to this as an audiobook, but I didn't, like, there were small details, things that would happen, and they would happen so fast, I missed it. And so I ended up looking up a summary after I'd finished the book to kind of figure out, like, where all of the pieces were fitting. I definitely want to read more Toni Morrison. I think I will probably end up reading her books chronologically and then rereading this when I get to it, but it was, like, just, yeah, I don't recommend going into this if you are in a bad headspace, because it is going to be a very tough, even when you're in a good headspace, it's a tough book to get through just because of the atrocity and the tragedy and the things that you are being confronted with in this novel, especially if you are someone like this. I can see this being cathartic for some, and I can see this being very uncomfortable for people like me. I wasn't, because I, again, know where I sit with that. I understand to some extent. It also is something it is something I recommend making sure you have a very good grasp of Black history in the United States. There is stuff in here that I think the average non-Black person in the United States might not have caught because it's not stuff we are taught in school. A lot of this is stuff that was passed down among families, and is only just now being actually recognized by historians in a mainstream way. And it's still, a lot of it is still not in our schools. You know why. This was gonna count for New Romantics, but I just didn't finish it in time, and I was like, I don't want to be rushing this book, because I could have done it at like 2.5 times speed, but I was like, I actually want to be able to pay attention to this book. And so I just decided it wasn't happening, and that's fine. Those are all of the books that I read for the Eras Readathon. If you enjoyed this readathon, it will be coming back in December of this year, 2023. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!